Hi everyone, I'm Nara Chagas and this is what's happening in Brazil. We start by updating you on the latest news from the country. On October 5th, Ailton Krenak was the first indigenous person elected to the Brazilian Academy of Letters. The philosopher, writer, environmentalist, and activist for indigenous causes was surprised with the choice because the institution traditionally considers the Portuguese language. By choosing him, the Academy also accepts about 200 different languages. Last week, the Constitution and Justice Committee of the Senate approved a proposed constitutional amendment restricting the so-called monocratic decisions of the Supreme Court when only one magistrate rules on a case. The decision is part of the current tensions between the legislative power and the judiciary power, which intensified in the last months when the Supreme Court tabled topics of deep social impact, such as abortion and the decriminalization of cannabis. The streets of downtown Belém, Pará's capital city, were flooded with over 2 million believers who participated in the Círio de Nazaré, or the Taper of Our Lady of Nazareth in English. Being the world's largest Catholic procession, the event had the participation of the movement of people affected by dams and the landless workers movement. Last week, Brazil's Senate approved the project that regularizes the Brazilian market of carbon credits to decrease greenhouse gas emissions in the country. However, the text was criticized by social movements from the Amazon due to its lack of safeguard to the rights of indigenous peoples, who are already affected by fraudulent emissions offset projects in their territories. On October 6th died Nalu Faria, one of the most important names from the national feminist militancy. She was the coordinator of the World March of Women and was a member of the Sempre Viva feminist organization. Fighting for women's rights since the 80s, she influenced the formation of hundreds of sisters and had a key role in the articulation of women's rights in Brazil. Amazonas state, north of Brazil, is facing what experts already consider a climate catastrophe. The drought and extreme heat are killing fish and affecting the water supply used by residents. The phenomenon may affect 5,000 people until the end of the year.
In recent weeks, Amazonas state lived a series of tragedies caused by drought and extreme heat. A river-dweller community 170 kilometers from Manaus, the state's capital city, was engulfed by a crater following the collapse of a ravine in the Purus River. 2 people died and 300 were directly affected. Also near Manaus, thousands of fish were floating dead on the surface of Piranha Lake. Residents said the water is unfit for consumption. In Tefé Lake, 500 kilometers far from Manaus, over 120 botus, an Amazon River dolphin, were found dead after the water reached 40 degrees Celsius, a record high.
The first consequence is product shortages because some of these large vessels decide not to navigate the Solimões River. Besides shortages, it also causes product prices to rise. Many communities go to Tefé to access the public health or education system, banks, and so on. The kids aren't going to school for a long time, and we are not managing to buy food in Tefé as we need to.
The Solimões River, part of the Amazonas River, the world's largest river, is becoming dry. Large vessels, which transport food from the capital city to the countryside, aren't able to navigate. In the community of Monte das Oliveiras, 16 families are almost totally isolated.
It became hard to go or come from the Fonte Boa. People here in the community are suffering a lot with the consequences due to not being able to buy food now. When someone manages to go there, the boat is a small one. Now we can only navigate in small boats.
In the Itaúba water stream, dry twigs threaten the safety of those who need to navigate. This fishing vessel loaded with fish got stuck in the mud. The crew had to get into the water and dig the bottom of the stream. Experts said the extreme drought and heat are caused by the combination of two factors: El Niño, a natural climate phenomenon that warms the water of the Pacific Ocean, and global warming caused by human action. The Amazonas state government declared a state of emergency. The estimate is that 500,000 people will be affected until the end of the year.
Tem uma probabilidade altíssima.
There is a high probability that El Niño will continue in the coming months and even into next year. It indicates that it is becoming more intense, and the effects that normally occur with El Niño may worsen. Therefore, the tendency is for the drought to worsen in the Amazon state.
In disaster management, the right thing is to promote a culture of prevention, a culture of risk, education people about risk and how we will adapt to these new situations we are experiencing. Therefore, the current lack of prevention or adaptation policies to climate change is obviously greatly missed. There is no well-established policy in Brazil, neither at federal, state, nor municipal level.
At the same time that Amazon deforestation has recently decreased, the devastation of the Cerrado biome is on the rise. In this context, measures to protect this biome are crucial. For 20 years, there has been a proposed constitutional amendment in Congress to make Cerrado and Caatinga national heritages. Now, the fight of environmentalists is to put this agenda forward among parliamentarians.
The proposed constitutional amendment that intends to include Cerrado and Caatinga in the group of national heritages is being evaluated by Congress for at least 20 years. The PEC, as it is known in Brazil, was presented to the Senate in 2003 and has only arrived at the Chamber of Deputies in 2010, where it is under evaluation since then. Last month, many organizations that deal with issues related to Cerrado and Caatinga started a campaign to approve the proposed amendment. The expectation is that as a national heritage, the Cerrado biome will receive more protection.
In our constitution, only the forest biomes, the Atlantic forest, Pantanal, and the Amazon, were considered national heritage. That's a big mistake because all the biomes are important. They depend on each other. The water coming from Cerrado goes to all the other biomes, including Pantanal, which depends on the water from Cerrado.
Cerrado is considered the most endangered Brazilian biome. According to the Cerrado Deforestation Alert System made by the Amazon Environmental Research Institute, until July this year, the deforestation in that region affected 582,000 hectares, almost the area of Brazil's federal district. This number represents a 20% rise compared to the same period of 2022. Cerrado is home of many headwaters that supplies a big part of the country's drainage basins, and for this reason, it is considered Brazil's water tank.
We must save Cerrado. It is of uttermost importance. Besides maintaining its standing, there is also a nutrition gastronomy that depends on the biome and that society needs to know and support. If there is no Cerrado, there is no water. Without water, there is no life.
A technical note made by the National Campaign in Defense of the Cerrado and for the Brazilian Semi-Arid Articulation highlights that the proposed amendment alone won't be able to change the current scenario of the two biomes, but may increase the possibilities for public policies.
This amendment is a historical reparation for this biome, which throughout the years has been used as a sacrifice zone. When we present this very discussion with other biomes, it isn't because we don't want to preserve them. but because it is vital to keep Cerrado standing. This proposed amendment acknowledges it. During the 60s and 70s, it was used as a bargaining chip, and that's precisely what we are seeing now. This amendment brings some legal safety for managing to keep Cerrado standing.
In a public hearing held on September 12th, the Chamber of Deputies discussed the path to approve the Pact 504. Representatives of social movements, traditional communities, and peoples defended the pact and launched the campaign Cerrado and Caatinga, Heritages of Brazil, Current Wealth, Future Heritage. The mobilization launched an online petition signed by over 500,000 people up until now. The goal is to reach more than 1 million.
We need to advance in talking about Cerrado as a whole. We need measures to protect all the aquifer recharge areas. We need to regulate the territories of traditional populations because they are the ones guaranteeing the protection and management of Cerrado in a sustainable way.
Did you like the show? So hit the like button and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. See you next week.